find some seats. Hello, my name is Bob Peart, and I'm Tom's cousin. And I've been asked to MC today's ceremony. I'm Tom's cousin, so I've known Tom since I was a kid. I was raised in southwestern Ontario. My dad and Tom's mom were cousins, and they were really quite close. And so the two families regularly visited. And so I saw a lot of Tom when I was growing up. And throughout our lifetime, Tom and I used to tease each other about whether we were first cousins once removed or were we second cousins. And I think the correct thing is we were first cousins once removed. For those people in the room who know this stuff better than I, you can correct me. Like Tom, I'm a biologist. And I owe much of my choice of career to the influence that Tom had. Tom was 8 years older than me. So when I was 10 or 12 years old and really getting interested in nature, and Tom was doing his research on red squirrels, snowshoe hare, and shorebirds, I thought that was pretty cool. And as a budding naturalist, I looked up to Tom. I really admired him. And when he spoke to me about his research, his interest in Aboriginal people, and his experience with the Berger Commission, I was gobsmacked. The family story, whether it's a myth or not, but the family story is one time after one of these regular visits, I walked up to my mom and I said, "I'm going to be a biologist, just like my cousin Tom." And evidently, my mom said, "Oh, that's fine, dear." And then she went on with her life. But here I am 60 years later, and I owe much of the wonderful life I've had to Tom's influence. And I'm not alone. As we'll all be hearing today, and you can tell by the presence of the people in the room, lots of people love Tom. And lots of people were influenced by him. So I thank you all for coming, thank you all for coming and honoring Tom, his life, and his family. Finally, I want to acknowledge Anne. I'm not sure where Anne ended up. And for the loving care she provided Tom, particularly in the last few months. And Tom is a wonderful, kind, interesting person. And we all miss him. So thank you, Anne. So Maureen's going to...
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ooh, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you. Just before we get into, is this on? Yep. So just before we get into the personal tributes, I want to thank Tom's daughter Tracy for the slideshow that's been showing for commemorating Tom, and to thank Tom's son Daniel and his partner Moretta for the table setters. And we're going to have a series now of personal tributes with some music. And Terry.
Thank you, Bob. Virtually all of my interactions with Tom took place in relation to the Camosun Gyro Club. Now, for those of you who don't know what Camosun Gyro Club is, what Gyro is a men's friendship organization with clubs throughout North America. In Victoria here, we have 2 dinner meetings a month, which is where I got to meet and get to know Tom. We also have mixed events where our wives or partners participate in, which is where my wife Nancy and I got to meet Anne and spend some time with and get to know her. As a couple, Tom and Anne were always willing to participate in Gyro events and fun to travel to events at other clubs in other cities. They offered a calm, solid presence to whatever we were doing, and more often than not, involved in some of the silly, fun mischiefs that we got into. I also remember many fun evenings when they hosted dinner clubs in their home. Gyro was a big part of Tom's life. While there are many words to describe Tom, one would be loyalty. He was a member of the Gyro Club for 43 years and was our president in 2005 and 6. Through all those years, Tom very seldom missed a meeting or event, even when he was experiencing health and mobility issues. He was always there. We used to tease him that the walker he was using was just an excuse to get us to buy him drinks, because he claimed that he couldn't carry a glass and operate his walker at the same time. And being friends, we always did go buy him a drink. However, I must let you know, Tom paid for every one of his own drinks. Anne once told me how much Tom loved gyro. Sitting at the same table for dinner with Tom was always interesting. He was always quiet, but when he did say something, we all listened. Because what he had to say was always interesting, insightful, and quite often had a different slant on whatever the conversation was that we were having. He was not afraid of voicing a dissenting opinion, but he always presented it in such a passionate, non-competitive manner. Another word for Tom was passionate. He was our guest speaker one night and told about his career as a wildlife biologist. He told us how he was heavily involved in resource conservation. He taught us how entwined conservation policies affected our everyday lives, the lives of First Nations, and how government decisions are made. It was totally fascinating. He was an environmentalist before it was cool to be an environmentalist. Page 2. Tom's persistence was admired by all of his gyro friends. His strong record of attendance at meetings and events for so many years, and especially when he began to experience health and mobility issues, was absolutely amazing. My favorite memory of Tom took place at our last year's wind-up steak fry get-together. He came with his own special dinner and had to negotiate 3 steps with his walker to get out onto the deck of Stu Cameron's place, but he did it. He was sitting there with this little smile on his face, a little sly smile which he often had, and just staring off. I went over and sat beside him and asked, what was he thinking about? He thought for a moment, then he looked at me and said, I'm so happy to be here with the guys, the camaraderie, listening to the conversations, the trash talk on the bocce court, and the laughter, all the while staring out over the beautiful Pacific Ocean. It doesn't get much better than this. That was Tom. So happy to be here. He will be missed by his gyro friends. Gorrie.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Anne, for inviting me to speak to my friend, Tom. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man. As I offer a few words to honor Tom, I'm reminded of the Shakespearean quotation that the elements woven into Tom's compelling life were indeed mixed, most notably within his sterling character. The man had character, and as you know, we are all here to salute him today. Throughout the many shared years of friendship with Anne and Tom, Tom's impressive being was revealed to me. His lived experiences of work in all the Canadian provinces, plus the territories, his outdoor paddling on our rivers, tributaries, oceans, and waterways that he so loved. Learning about Tom was very much by osmosis, as he was never a boastful person. He always possessed a humility, which was so evocative of the Saskatchewan prairie landscape from which he came, and which so informed and shaped his character. That province, the land, the beauty of the sweeping wheat, swaying in the winds, the wide open spaces, the home to the co-op movement and our universal medicine. All of this has so enriched his life, and he brought some of that homestead heritage that's known to Saskatchewan with him throughout his life. And all of that left an indelible mark on him. Although steeped in knowledge and epic adventures of the North and throughout the entire country, both near and far, humility remained a central core, as was the grandeur of the lands, the peaks and the valleys he traversed that schooled him in important life lessons. Just as the beauty of the natural world seeks no attention to itself, so too Tom never sought attention to himself. And like nature, Tom was a man for all seasons. Said John Muir, the renowned naturalist, "I only went out for a walk and finally concluded to stay out till sundown. For going out, I found I was really going in." For Tom, from my experience, going out or being out in nature, in the natural world, brought harmony and comfort to him. He sourced his internal world with the riches he gleaned from those outings. Truthfully, the natural world was his preferred habitat. Paddling his canoe, kayaking the outer islands of BC, skiing the mountains with his family, walking his four-legged friends. For Tom, there was no separation between inside and outside domains. He, more than anyone, understood the interconnection or interbeing of all domains and all the ties that bind all of us together. Tom possessed a keen intellect. Always had to be on my game when I had conversations with Tom. He had a very spacious mind and way of thinking. He was an articulate conversationalist with a clear vision of his own colorful internal landscape. He was an original, and he was a man not prone to fads and gimmicks. And he was a bold and adventurous planetary pilgrim. It was always a delight to be in his company. I always appreciated his gentle countenance and his solid presence, his equanimity. His awareness of nature's power and dominance reinforced his own philosophy in regards to his own place in the natural order of the cosmos. A poignant story that Anne shared with me just recently was when Tom, already in hospital and receiving palliative care, had asked to have his cherished bird book brought to him so that he could observe and identify the birds from his hospital bed window. Throughout his life, but also another aspect of Tom that I really appreciated was that throughout his life journey, Tom remained the quintessential Canadian citizen. He loved Canada, so much so that the zeitgeist of our popular culture might even label him Captain Canuck. He was committed to all things Canadiana. Can-lit, check. Local, provincial, federal politics, check. Environmental causes, check. Canadian Indigenous art, check. Wade Davis's research writings and photographs, check. Canadian singer-songwriters, for sure, check. We listened to music a lot when we were together. The latter created a soundtrack to his life. The eponymous Canadian singer, Joni Mitchell's song, iconic song, and also a woman that was raised in Saskatchewan, her iconic song, A Case of You, is so evocative of me. It's so evocative of Tom for me. Her lyrics, Oh Canada, I drew a map of you. You're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter and you taste so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and I'd still be on my feet. I'd still be on my feet. Now, as I wrote this, I had to have a little chuckle to myself because I was thinking I probably did drink a case of wine with Ann and Tom over the years. But it was always a joy and a delight. Reigning more supreme in Tom's life, however, was his dedication and commitment and love of family. His beloved Anne, whom he often called the strongest person I've ever known. His children, devoted daughter Tracy. Beloved Kate, who we lost this year, but is with us today in spirit. And his loving son Daniel, who shared memorable trips with his dad. And grandson Tristan is here today with his dad Daniel. So I just want to say, oh, and the great-grands are in Ontario, and they enjoyed several visits with their great-grandpa and grandma over the years. It was Anne's vibrant heart and spacious heart that added so much to Tom, especially during his final days, and I might even say her social worker acumen that helped to advocate for Tom and to get the best care. So you will not meet a stronger advocate than my dear friend Anne. Finally, I just want to share my deep gratitude for your inspirational life, dear Tom. I am bowing to you today, to your profound journey on this earth, your love of family, your affinity for the natural world, and your love of our country, oh Canada. Thank you.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and he pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, the beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to a kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, but from your lips she drew the hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Say I took the name in vain, but I don't even know the name. Well, if I did, well, really, what's it to ya? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter of which you heard, the holy or the broken. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I did my best, it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. And even though it all went wrong, stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Lon. My name is Lon Wood. It hasn't been established whether or not I'm Tom's long-lost brother. I wish that were the case. On a day like today, he would have been so happy just riding out along the Lochside Trail as we did. And I couldn't have enough of those days. Our friendship with Anne and Tom began in the 70s. As young parents, we shared the same learning curve in getting on with the job of parenting. We kept our wits about us with good food, a little bit of wine, and conversation once the kids were in bed, and it really sealed the bond. This image of Tom you saw in the obituary on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, will stay in my mind forever. The green of it. There was Tom, a giant leprechaun of a man, all in green with his trademark grin and his eyes squinting in his typical smiling eyes. But bear with me, I have kissed the Blarney Stone. Bears of the name Wood may descend from Irish immigrants who moved to England and Wales, settlers with the surnames Cole or Coyle or O'Coyle, changing their surnames to Wood, the English translation. But let's get serious, because Tom's his green stripe, ran seriously deep in thought and action for a lifetime, quietly and strongly, long before it was fashionable, as Bob said. To the end, Tom held that we must face the essential need to nurture and heal an ailing planet and life itself in every form. 50 years ago at the Victoria Daily Times, before it merged with the Colonist, I might as well have worn a tin hat when as city editor I approached the publisher Stuart Underhill, a fine man, that we should report more on the emerging awareness of the need to recycle, along with incumbent issues of conservation, sustainability, the reduce, reuse, and recycle modes standardly accepted today. Back then, Tom was body and soul well along the green road, working Canada from sea to sea. Imagine every one of our beautiful provinces, including Alberta. And on his well-informed, educated mission, delivered with calm but firm determination, explaining to government what was up, explaining to the public what was up, municipal councils, provincial councils, talking the talk and walking the walk in the interest for our future now, for the now and for our future. I can't say whether Tom is a long-lost relative of my Wood clan. I don't think he drank enough to be so. But no matter, because in his worldview, we're all brothers and sisters deserving of the legacy that he feels can be fulfilled with our hope and action. And he worked his life to do that. In going into the files, I must have killed 1,000 trees in his name, pulling off only some, I didn't pull them all off, his press clippings from decades and decades. And if we weren't listening, they're all there for us now to reflect on. And these are his words just pulled out randomly. Act of reducing, recycling. Think of our grandchildren, that they demand that we guide ourselves with a carefully crafted energy policy. That, be careful of the government and oil industry spins on the real value of pipelines and whatever. Chewing gum even. We can, these are his words, we can and must take action to mitigate the impacts. Getting serious about holding down greenhouse gas emissions is a good place to start. Dike systems that prevent Hurricane Sandy scenarios costing billions. And at the bottom line for him, and this is his humanity, is we should be making every effort to avoid human suffering. It will be useful for us who are more fortunate to think a bit and ways to ease the pain and suffering of the hundreds of millions of ecological victims who will be displaced from vulnerable regions of our planet. So I'm honored, and I couldn't have done better than Bob or Laurie. So I hope that I've added a little dimension, the Irish one. He didn't have to be anything, he was himself. And I thank you all in the family for honoring me with this chance to give my 2 cents. Chuck.
It says I'm Mary or Rob. Pardon me, Mary or David. You're both. Call me either.
They're sick. Nice to see everybody. I've known Tom for 40 years. Set this thing so I can. for 40 years, so I know quite a bit about him, but it's interesting, certainly the service, how much more you learn about somebody. And I appreciate all the comments people have made.
Chuck's taking the microphone.
Oh, I can. Can you hear me better now? Okay, thank you. We met in the 80s, Joy and I, and Tom and Ann, and we've been friends, close friends ever since. And we belong to Jaro as Tom and Ann did. And Joy was a bridge player, so she included so many people. She was sort of the catalyst of, and then expanding our group of friends. We had a lot of fun, and that's really what our relationship was all about. I got a little jealous of Tom because he could cook and I can't. So here he was cooking at this fabulous dinner, and I was hoping Joy wasn't looking. So he was a great cook, and especially a barbecuer. Tom's career as a wildlife biologist. Tom's career as a wildlife biologist took him to all the provinces and all the territories. And he did a presentation at Gyro, a slideshow presentation, and it was fantastic. He was a good photographer as well. But I had to beg the question, Tom, were there any bugs in any of those pictures? And he said, millions. So he really enjoyed his career tremendously. And I had great environmental discussions with him, and he rationalized me out of my position every time, every time. But he was so good-natured about it. It was just fantastic. Tom was a big exerciser. He loved his bike, and it was sort of a sad day when he had to give it up. I remember how sad he was about giving up his bike, because he rode it everywhere on that. But we came up, this happened around COVID, and during COVID I lost my gym, but Tom had a gym in his apartment. So you could have guests, so we made a deal. We'd meet 3 times a week and go to Tim Hortons. I'd buy the Tim Hortons, and he'd provide the gym. But we had a great time during the whole COVID period. We did that, and it was very enjoyable to spend that time with him. We made trips on Viking riverboats. We went to, which landed up in Amsterdam. One of the favorite trips we made was I won at a charity auction, I bid for a weekend at Pearson College in the Pacific. So we went out there, and we're like kids again. This was just pre-pandemic, and we really had a great time staying in the guest cottage. And we went through the guest book, because it kept a nice guest book, and Prince Charles, of course, slept there. And I'm convinced that Anne and Tom got that bad. It was an awful lot of fun. We went and jumped in the lake, and part of it was we got food included at the cafeteria. And so we really were students, right to the core, so we really enjoyed that. As his health slipped, he was always positive. He was never negative about it. I never heard him complain ever about anything. And the last move he made was to Sunset Lodge. And there was a snowstorm coming up on the first day of the snowstorm. I said, I've got to go see him. He's into the Sunset Lodge. I want to see what this place is like. And it was one of those things that you have this rush of, this is going to be terrific. Because I walked in the room, and the whole end of the room was glass, looking at a steep embankment with trees and grasses. And I thought, there's nothing better than for a wildlife biologist to be in that kind of environment. He had a TV on the right, and he was his old self sitting there, and we talked. I brought the coffee and my tea, and we enjoyed that. And his last words to me as I was leaving, could you bring hot chocolate next time? And I did that. I made a point of going to the hospital, but he was too sick to really appreciate it. But, thanks, Anne, for sharing Tom with us, and God bless Tom. Thank you.
And David and Mary Robb are unable to attend, but Daniel is going to read a statement from them.
Hi, everyone. This is from David and Mary Robb, who, as Bob said, could not be here. They wrote, "We are so sorry not to be there with everyone to celebrate Tom's life. We came to know Tom in his older years. However, through common acquaintances and a shared love of the North and the wilderness, we got a glimpse of him during his working life, contributing to the enhancement and conservation of the forests and its inhabitants. I love the story of how we got into the field. I can't remember all the details. Maybe Anne can tell the tale. In all our interactions with Tom as a senior, we enjoyed his considerate, calm demeanor, always helping out when needed. I have 2 pictures of Tom in my mind's eye. One is him looking so handsome in that terrific hat he always wore. The other is watching him dance at Herman's one night with a slightly mischievous smile on his face. We feel fortunate to have known Tom. Our thoughts go out to Anne and all Tom's family. Sent from my iPad.
Come a little bit closer, hear what I have to say. Just like children sleeping, we could dream this night away. But there's a full moon rising, let's go dancing in the light. 'Cause we know where the music's playing, let's go out and feel the night. 'Cause I'm still in love with you, I wanna see you dance again. 'Cause I'm still in love with you on this harvest moon. When we were strangers, I watched you from afar. When we were lovers, I loved you with all my heart. But now it's getting late, and the moon is climbing high. I 'cause I'm still in love with you. I wanna see you dance again, 'cause I'm still in love with you. I wanna see you dance again, 'cause I'm still in love with you. I wanna see you dance again, 'cause I'm still in love with you. On this harvest moon, on this harvest moon, harvest moon.
Thank you, Maureen and Carol. I understand that Prosecco is going to be distributed, and then once it's been distributed around, Keith Spacey's going to come up and offer a toast.
Some of them